Hello everyone, this is Day Trader Matt with a businesswithtrading.com doing a recap of our trading room for Thursday the 26th of May. Today we had two trades for a maximum profit potential of 6.5 points or 26 ticks. Personally I did a little bit better than that. It's always cool to, one of the reasons I do what I do, I assume you're trading with only one contract and you're taking the maximum potential of a move. Which, for example, we went long in this area here at 7.5. The market came up here. We were able to take our 1 point of profit. Then we went long down here at 13.25, and the market came all the way up here. We were able to take profit on the way up, and then obviously came back down, and that was a perfect buy opportunity. We were watching this. We watched it bounce off of here. It was kind of choppy, it seemed like, in here, and then when it got up here it was definitely a little bit choppy as well, and then it took off from there. But 6.5 points is definitely not a bad day at all. You're looking at $325, not bad for 2.5 hours in a day. So definitely pretty good for sure. And we like to go over stuff in the room. We like to go over what we're looking for, and the biases that we might have. Like I was looking for a short bias. Perhaps this market could have gone higher. This market could have gone lower. So we try to take it as the trades come rather than what we think is going to happen. It's important to have a bias. You want to think, well, the market can go this way or the market can go that way. But, you want to try to have a bias in the market. I think the market's going to do this. I think the market's going to do that. Because that's what it is. It's competition with yourself. That's what trading is all about. You're not really competing with anyone else unless you're down on the pit. You actually are competing with other people. But, in your home, trading off your computer, you're really competing against yourself. And it's a mental game. Yogi Berra used to say baseball is 130% mental and 10% physical. Trading's the same way, maybe a little bit more mental. It's definitely a psychological game, and I have a lot of psychology in my trading course because I believe it is really important. But I like to have a bias every morning coming into the market. I like to have a bias. And I can change that depending on what happens. I'm not going to hold tight to it. I think the market's going to go down, so I'm going to take our shorts. Or I think the market's going to go up, I'm going to take our longs. I do have the days where I try to take only shorts or only longs. And sometimes the market is going against me, so I'm taking reversals the entire time. And pretty much all that matters is you make profit at the end of the day. And that's what I try to instill in people. That's all that really matters is you make profit. You might have a bad day, you might have a bad week, but you don't want to have a bad month. You want to get that under control. So I try to go over that. Psychology is definitely very, very important. So that's why I have a lot of that in my trading course. But anyway, today was definitely an interesting day. The market came out early this morning at 8:30. Came out. GDP was a little worse than expected. Unemployment claims were a little bit higher than expected. And I don't really see how that was such a bad thing. And apparently the market didn't think so either. They took this thing straight up. It chopped around for a long time, and then they just took it straight up. So. It was definitely interesting. We were kind of on the same level. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. They didn't think it was that big of a deal, and they bought it. And it does make it really interesting. And I know some people, they get upset. Well, the news was bad, the market should go down. The news was good, the market should go up. But it doesn't work like that. It's all on what other people were thinking. I don't know if you guys watching this video have ever read about game theory. That's all about knowing what the other person is doing, or having a thought of what the other person is doing. it definitely does make it really interesting. It makes it a very, very fun game, trading. So, but anyway, that's, those some thoughts on that, some thoughts on the market. You know, but anyway, the website is www.abusinesswithtrading.com. If you want to stop by and check it out, see if it's for you or not. Trading's definitely not for everyone, and one particular style of trading is not for everyone either. So, definitely check that out. If you have any questions, upper right hand side of the website, don't hesitate to send out anything you have. I hope you guys do enjoy these videos. If you do, please click the Twitter, Facebook, and like buttons. Would definitely appreciate that in a big way. Hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll see you tomorrow morning in the markets. Thank you.